behaviors weren't changing and students weren't really doing a whole lot of work in the classroom when they were assigned to ISS. So I had a teacher who had this idea that we were going to revamp what that looked like. My teacher, Susan Darvel-Zook, had the idea of creating BASE, and that stands for the Behavior, Academic, Social, Emotional class. So there is a very intentional design of the day for students so that they can get their academics, they have a time when they are addressing their emotional needs. They try to get to the root cause of the behavior that got them assigned to a removal from the classroom.
And as I do my visits to schools, I see schools that have really been working on this and have embraced the changes and have done some really very intentional work on improving culture for kids. In my visit to Wiley, I noticed an incredible change. They've always had a good culture, but this year in my visit, I was like, it feels really different.
The first thing that we saw is that students were actually getting some work done. Of course, we've got a dynamic teacher who's able to facilitate instruction for all the grade levels. They do a reflection. They figure out what they're doing. They help build skills so that when they go back to the classroom, they've got some new strategies so that they don't get angry or they don't act out.
Culture is one of our big rocks for the district, and that is helping schools work with teachers to develop skills, the mindsets, the attitudes really needed to change culture.
So we've got some students who choose to come back now. They have a relationship, so when they know they're getting, kind of escalated, they'll say, can I just go down to base for a minute?
You really have to say, what are the most important things? What are the majors? I always say, if you major in the minors, you're going to get nothing accomplished. So what are the things we can major in that are major?
Bye, y'all. Have a good weekend. Hey, Lila. Hey, Meredith.
They're only focusing on things that they think are creating the biggest concerns or the biggest barriers to learning. And so one of those is around cell phones. And so they've been very clear with students about what do we do with our cell phones when we're on campus. One of the things they decided not to make as a major incident is the use of hoodies. They're letting kids wear the hoodie as long as it's not disruptive to education. The Code of Character, Conduct, and Support is really about just creating a positive culture for kids, one that is not free of consequences, because that is still a part of it, but that is focused on restorative interventions and restorative practices. But the focus is really on how can we start moving away from being punitive to being restorative. And that's really what the code is all about. But it's also about setting very clear expectations in schools, holding students and adults to those high expectations.
This year specifically, we've got Sewing for Service. It's a sewing club, but they're building or creating things that will be donated to organizations. We've started a kindness club who do random acts of kindness. We've got 2 mentor programs, one for our gentlemen called the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and we have Lead Girls. The League is our in-house staff who facilitate that. Our goal was to equip students so that they don't continue to misbehave. And we've seen, we've got the data that shows that most students, not all, that spend some time in base with the teacher and the assistant who's in here, they don't repeat behaviors. But at the end of the day, if we've got students who are doing better than they were, that's the goal. It doesn't have to be discipline, it has to be a consequence, and consequences aren't always punitive.